we're really getting desensitized to evil and violence and things that we should not be consuming. And then even when you think of like actual news, you know, it was a point in time where we were seeing people killed on social media. People were filming it. And George Floyd is one example. Like, that video is ingrained in a lot of our minds. Like, we cannot forget that. And that's just one situation. There were so many others where, someone is being murdered and we're watching it happen, not necessarily in real time, but we're seeing someone take their last breath from the hand of violence. Like, think about what that can do to your mind and think about what that can do to your heart. Welcome to Favor in Beauty, the podcast where we acknowledge beauty that turns heads, but we really dive deep into beauty that turns hearts. And I am your host, Jenaé. Excited to be here. As always, welcome to the episode. If you're watching this in the video format, you can probably tell your girl's a little tired today, but we're going to push through. And it's going to be a good episode. So with that, we'll just do a quick recap of last week's episode. And we talked about codependency. And I talked about, my experiences with codependency and things that I have been doing to actively work my way towards all of my relationships being mutually beneficial and having more authentic connections with the people that I'm connected to. So it was a good episode. Check it out if you haven't already and let me know what you think. So with that, we'll get into our first segment, which is called Beauty is Their Name. And in this episode, we acknowledge someone who's showing up beautifully in the world. And kind of in the same vein of last week, I'm going to acknowledge another author, and her name is Bell Hooks. All About Love is one of my favorite books of all time. I have read it so many times, and I often go, reference it at random times in my life. It's just a beautiful work of art that I'm just so glad that she contributed to the world. May she rest in peace. But if you haven't checked out this book, please read this book. Essentially, this is a reference book about love. So she not only talks about her own thoughts about love and her experiences with love, which are all very profound. Let me just say that. She also references other books and other authors who talk about love as well. So it kind of gives you a little trail to follow if you're interested in learning about love. Chapter 4 is my favorite chapter because it talks about self-love. So I'm going to read, I have underlined and highlighted this book. So I'm going to read one of my favorite parts from this book. So self-love is the foundation of our loving practice. Without it, our other efforts to love fail. Giving ourselves love, we provide our inner being with the opportunity to have the unconditional love we may have always longed to receive from someone else. Whenever we interact with others, the love we give and receive is always necessarily conditional. Although it is not impossible, it is very difficult and rare for us to be able to extend unconditional love to others, largely because we cannot exercise control over the behavior of someone else, and we cannot predict or utterly control our responses to their actions. We can, however, exercise control over our own actions. We can give ourselves the unconditional love that is the grounding for sustained acceptance and affirmation. When we give this precious gift to ourselves, we are able to reach out to others from a place of fulfillment and not from a place of lack. Bars. I love this woman, and I'm just so thankful for this book. If you have not read it, you should do that. And she has a lot of other amazing books as well. So shout out to bell hooks. She really doesn't get the celebration and the praise that she deserves. But we're going to do that over here. All right, so let's get into our topic segment, which is called the chair. So if you go to the beauty salon, you go to the barbershop, you go to the nail salon, when you sit down in the chair, you know it's about to go down, right? You know that you came to the location for a particular service, and once you leave, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel renewed and better. And so that's what I hope you feel when you leave the chair. So today we're going to talk about protecting your eye and your ear gates. And so this is something that is really important. It's something that is really significant that I hope we all can be mindful of and work towards getting better at. All right. So guarding your gates. So what is a gate? A gate is, and so I like to look up definitions because it helps to ground me. It helps me to get a better understanding of the origins of a word or just obviously what something means. And so that's why I often start with definitions. But what is a gate? So a gate is a movable barrier, usually hinged, for closing and opening in a wall, fence, etc. It's an opening to allow passage into or out of an enclosed place. So a gate is necessary because you want to protect something. So if you think of like a gated community, so the individuals that live in a gated community, they are intentionally trying to keep people out, right? So you have to have a code or a card, or you have to get buzzed in because they want to protect their community from whatever. And so the same thing goes for the need to protect your heart and your mind. And the way to do that is to protect your ear gates and your eye gates. So I talked about in the beauty secret last week, I mentioned that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. And so, a lot of times we think things are innocent. We think things aren't that deep. We think things are entertainment, but they really can be impacting your heart and your mind. And so we want to prevent that. So talking about eye gates first. So when I was younger, I have an older brother. He's 6 years older than me. And recently, we were talking about all of the movies and stuff that we used to watch when we were younger. And I realized that a lot of the entertainment or the types of movies that we consumed were like horror films. So we used to watch Jason and Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, which is really scary, and a kid really should not be watching that because he comes to you. It's a monster that comes to you in your dreams. We used to watch Poltergeist. We used to watch Children of the Corn. And that movie specifically, I remember because we would spend weekends with my dad because my parents were divorced. And I remember being at my dad's house, and I'm probably in elementary school, and we watched Children of the Corn. And I distinctly remember not being able to sleep. I was going from like room to room, like trying to settle down, and I couldn't do it. We watched Gremlins. It was a lot of movies that we watched that specifically at my age, I had no business watching. And, horror films evoke fear. They make you paranoid. They make you jump. They make you, kind of look over your shoulder because, somebody or something is lurking, or something's under your bed, or somebody's coming after you. And then, as I get older, I realize that I have an issue with anxiety and fear. And so to me, I don't find that to be a coincidence because, at such a young age, that seed was planted. And, I grew up watching very, grew up, but even as an adult, I was attracted to gore and like horror films and things that were really scary. And I really attribute that to when I was younger and I watched all of those types of movies. As an adult, this was probably in like 2014, I want to say, and I binge watched American Horror Story, and it was the one that was about the coven and voodoo. I watched like the entire season in 2 days, and for like a week, I could not sleep. Like I felt like somebody was in my room. Like it was bad. And I think and the reason why I think I know we have to be careful with, what we're watching and what we're consuming, because it's not always just entertainment. Oftentimes it's not. So you don't know what you're allowing into your spirit by watching these types of films, and by you consuming, like willingly consuming this content, you're opening your gates and you're allowing that information or whatever to enter you. And so you definitely have to be careful with what you're watching. I also have to be, now you can see anything on TV. There used to be some type of kind of privacy, I guess, or some type of reserve when it comes to language and nudity and sex and all of those things. And, now you can pretty much see it all on Netflix or, whatever way that you're consuming content. So there's nothing left to the imagination. And so, we wonder why a lot of people deal with lust. You can easily see people being intimate and in very intimate situations on TV. You wonder why, people are so violent when they're playing video games with people killing each other. And like Grand Theft Auto is an example. Like, I know that video game is not created for children, but a lot of children do play it and a lot of adults play it, obviously. And just because you're an adult, that doesn't mean that that's the type of content that you should be consuming. So, we wonder why people are violent. You can just pull up a video game and blow up, a whole house, or, Call of Duty is another one where you're literally just shooting people. Like, that is the point of the game. So we're really getting desensitized to evil and violence and things that we should not be consuming. And then even when you think of like actual news, it was a point in time where we were seeing people killed on social media. People were filming it. And George Floyd is one example. Like, that video is ingrained in a lot of our minds. Like, we cannot forget that. And that's just one situation. There were so many others where, someone is being murdered and we're watching it happen, not necessarily in real time, but we're seeing someone take their last breath from the hand of violence. Like, think about what that can do to your mind, and think about what that can do to your heart. So shifting to ear gates. So the things that you're listening to. So this one is really interesting for me because I love music. I grew up as a musician. I played the clarinet up through college, and even before that, my mom sings, my brother loves music, my dad loves music. So music has always been a huge part of my life. And when I think back to the types of music that I used to listen to, I can see why some of the patterns that existed in my life were present because of what I was consuming. So for example, in college, so I was in college during the Lil Jon, 3 6 Mafia, Lil Scrappy, Ludacris, like that era of music. So they're either degrading women, they were either talking about fighting and getting hype in the club, they were talking about sex, which, well, I'll get to that in a second. They were talking about sex, so they were talking about violence, they were talking about getting money, all of those things. Even if I think about even high school, thinking about Nas and Lil Kim and Foxy Brown and all of these people, like, I had no business listening to those things at that, well, period, but especially not, my young, impressionable mind. But now, so for me, and I brought up the musician part because I listen to the beat. I listen to the melody. I listen to the bass line. So I'm listening to the actual music because I also like to dance. And so when you hear music, I feel like you automatically want to move your body. And so even though you may not always be listening to the words, you're still feeding your spirit with whatever is being said, and it's happening unconsciously. So and I know this goes for everybody, like you sing a song for years, but then over time you actually learn what the song was actually about. So what's that song? Baby, when we're grinding, I'm so excited. You know I like it. Try, but I can't find. Whatever that, what song I'm talking about. I never really listened to what the song was saying, but that song is so vulgar and inappropriate. But, you just hear the beat and it makes you, you want to listen to it over and over again. So really have to pay attention to what you're listening to. Recently, I have definitely kind of audited the types of things that I have been listening to. And I have to be careful because I had a whole, workout playlist. And, when you're working out, you want to hear things that are upbeat and kind of that gives you energy and gets you excited. All of those songs were vulgar. All of those songs were talking about things that I should not be feeding my spirit with. So I really had to take a step back and pay attention to what I've been listening to. Also, if you think about not just music, podcasts as well, I also had to do an audit of the podcast I listen to and the type of language that people are using. If people are cursing all the time, if that's something, and that is something I tell one of my friends all the time, I be cursing in my head. I don't say it out loud because I really am trying to, speak with love, speak words that are affirming, and curse words, in my opinion, don't do that. So I've been trying to correct my language. But if I'm listening to, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, so if I'm listening to podcasts and every other word they're saying something vulgar or out of pocket, I'm going to repeat, even unconsciously, I'm going to start saying those things, or those things are going to be ingrained in my spirit, and I don't want that to happen. So I have any type of media that I consume, and I'm not trying to say I listen to rated, everything I watch is rated G, but I do have to pay attention to the frequency and the type of language they're using, the subject matter that they're talking about, because a lot of times when you hear something over and over again, you hear something for the first time and you're like, oh, that's wild. I can't believe they said that. I can't believe they did that. But over time, if you keep listening to that same message or that same type of delivery, you're going to become desensitized and it's not going to seem so wild anymore. And so I don't want that for me. And one of the reasons why I think this is so important for me now, not only for myself, but also for my daughter. So, she watches YouTube a lot, and she watches Netflix as well. But a lot of the things I have to really pay attention to because sometimes a kid may take an iPad and kind of go off and you're not listening to exactly what they are watching. So I have realized that I have to pay more attention to what she's watching, because everything is like about a witch or a wizard, or it's evil, or kids are talking crazy to their parents. And I remember I'm now linking some of the fear and anxiety that I may have as an adult. I'm linking that to a kid or my childhood and the things that I used to watch. And so I really have to be mindful of what I'm allowing her to consume, because she's a kid. She doesn't know any better. She's just watching what is of interest to her. And so as her parent, I have a responsibility to make sure that, she's listening to things that are edifying her, even to the point where, when we're in the car, we're listening to what she wants to listen to. She's not always with me. And so I have to reserve the moments that we're together to either ride in silence, or we're listening to something that is positive, or something that will, something that will edify her. I even have to pay attention to, like, if I'm scrolling on TikTok and, what she may be able to hear. I don't want her to, I have to protect her ear gates and her eye gates as well. So I really just want us to pay more attention to the things that we are consuming. And just because something that was meant for entertainment, that something may go a little deeper than you think. And so, pay attention to, after you watch something, how you feel, or what you are desiring, or what you may be enticed to do, or the things that pop up in your mind. Because again, it's really not just entertainment. And that's why, advertising and marketing is such a huge industry, because, how many times have you seen something on an advertisement and then you want to go get it, or you want to go buy it? That's the point, and we think it is, it really is subconscious. And so the more that you see something over and over again, or the more that you hear something over and over again, you may desire it. And it may be something that you have no business desiring. So protect your ear gates and protect your eye gates, because it's real out here. And so you really just have to be diligent about what you are allowing yourself to take in. So that was short, but that is the end of today's topic. And so with that, we will move into the beauty secret. So today we have an internal beauty secret, and I want to talk about talking to elders in your family. So the beauty secret segment, we really just talk about tips and tricks, or things that you can do to help improve your life, help improve your mental health and your well-being. And so a couple days ago, let me go back. So I have been really interested in understanding my family's history. Long story short, I don't know a lot beyond my grandparents, and I really don't even know a lot about them. My grandparents died when anyway, I don't know a lot. I was about to tell a very long story, but I don't know a lot about my grandparents' lives. And so I've been really interested in asking my parents and, whoever else has information about my family, because I really want to, connect some dots. And so, my mom has an uncle on her mom's side who is still alive. He's 91. And so, in addition to asking my parents questions, I wanted to go to his house and just kind of see what information that I could get while I was there. And I'm so glad that I went. So it was my mom, my brother, and I. And so we went to visit him and his wife and his daughter. And, I wasn't asking him a whole lot of questions because he is older and he doesn't always feel his best. But just in general conversation, a lot of things were coming up. And so I learned a lot about his parents, so my grandma's parents, because this is my grandmother's brother. I learned about a lot about his life. He is a picture person, which I love. Like, they have pictures all over their walls. And so, I was looking at their pictures. And then he even had a picture of my grandmother when she was a little girl. And now, so I took a picture of the picture. And that just made me so happy, because when I never thought I would be able to see a picture of my grandmother as a little girl. And then I saw a picture of their parents as well. So if you have people in your family who are still alive and they're willing to talk to you, I would encourage you to just sit with them and talk to them and see what information you're able to get. Just for I think knowing your history allows you to understand who you are and where you're going. And, so yeah, if you still have access to those people, try to get the information you can while they're still here. I do have plans to go back and maybe hopefully ask some more specific questions. Maybe get connections to other people in my family so I can talk to them as well. But I'm really trying to connect the dots. So yeah, it was just a really great experience, and the fact that I got to go, with my mom and my brother was really cool as well. So find out the information that you can, and with the information that I have, I plan on, using some type of database or technology that, we have access to now to, create a family tree, or to dig a little deeper and find out more information about these people's lives, because I am a descendant of them. And so I want to learn as much as I can. So if you can, try to talk to, the people, your elders, and the people who are in your life. And with that, we made it to the end of the episode. I appreciate you so much for listening. We're getting into the holiday season, so I hope I know it can be an interesting time depending on where you are in life. And so I just hope that you are well. I hope that you are content in whatever your situation looks like, because, that is what's important. It isn't about buying things and giving things and all of that. The season is really about love and compassion and connection. And in a lot of cases, we may not have our family around, or our relationships with our family may not be what we want it to be. But of course, where you can extend that love and compassion, do that, but also make sure that you're extending that same love and that same compassion with yourself, going back to the excerpt that we read from All About Love, because it really does start with you. So I hope you all are doing well. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you may be receiving your podcast. If you're listening to or you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like the video, share it with a friend, recommend the podcast if you know someone who may benefit from it. And I'm excited to close out the year and start out 2024 with some really exciting things. And I'm excited to take you all with me. So if you haven't heard it today, I love you. Even if you have heard it today, I still love you. And I hope you are taking good care. See y'all next time.